Oak Ridge was a small town. People were friendly, and everyone knew everyone. The sun was often shining, and there was always something happening in the town square. People gathered there to chat, buy goods from the market, and spend time with their neighbors. The town had a calm energy, where everyone seemed to take their time, except for Theo, of course. Theo was a lively man. He was always rushing around, thinking of new ideas. He loved to get things done quickly, and his mind raced from one thing to the next. But despite his rush, he always had time for Mila, his wife. Mila was his opposite. She was calm, patient, and always willing to listen. People often saw them walking hand in hand, smiling and laughing. Their love was clear to everyone. Mila's patience was a perfect match for Theo's energy. She would calmly explain things when he was frustrated, or guide him when he rushed ahead without thinking. Though they were different, their love worked because they balanced each other out. Then there was Lara. She was the owner of a small shop in the market, selling beautiful hand-woven fabrics. People came from all over to buy her goods, and her reputation for cleverness and skill was well known. Lara was respected by everyone in Oak Ridge, but she couldn't help but feel something was missing in her life. Her husband, Oliver, was quiet and steady, much different from Theo. Lara loved Oliver, but sometimes she wondered if she could be happier with someone like Theo, someone more exciting, more alive. Oliver, in contrast, was content with the simple things. He didn't rush through life. He took his time to enjoy the small moments. His calm demeanor and patience were qualities that made him beloved by the townspeople. But Lara didn't always see it. She sometimes thought if Oliver had more energy or could act faster, life would be more exciting. She envied the bond between Mila and Theo and longed for the same spark. One afternoon, Lara asked Mila to meet her in the small shop. The walls were lined with bright, beautiful fabrics, and the smell of lavender hung in the air. Mila walked in and greeted her friend with a warm smile, though she could tell something was on Lara's mind. Lara looked at her, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Mila, I've been thinking," she said. "You and Theo are always so happy. You're always in sync with each other. I sometimes wonder why my marriage isn't like that. Oliver is a good man, but he's just quiet. He's so calm and steady. I need someone who's more lively, like Theo." Mila felt surprised. She didn't know Lara had been thinking about her marriage this way. She had always admired Lara's intelligence and strength, but she was also puzzled by Lara's words. "You're saying you want someone like Theo? But he's not perfect, Lara. He's always rushing, always impatient." Lara smiled. "I know, but he's never dull. He's always doing something, always full of energy. Sometimes I wish Oliver could be more like that. Mila thought for a moment. She knew Theo could be frustrating at times, but she also knew he had a good heart. So, what do you want me to do? Mila asked. Lara's eyes twinkled. What if we swapped husbands for a week? You'd live with Oliver, and Theo would stay with me. We could see what happens, see if we really are more suited to each other. Mila was shocked. What? Are you serious? You want me to live with Oliver and leave Theo for a week? Lara nodded. Yes, it could be fun. You could see how calm Oliver really is, and I could see if Theo's energy is what I really need. Mila didn't know how to respond at first. It sounded like a strange idea, but something about it intrigued her. After a long pause, she said, Okay, I'll agree to this, but on one condition. If you and Theo are going to switch, you both have to complete certain tasks I choose. Tasks that will test how well you work together. You'll have to prove that you really belong with each other. Lara raised an eyebrow. Tasks? What kind of tasks? Mila smiled. You'll see, but they'll be simple. They will require patience, kindness, and teamwork. No rushing, no shortcuts. Lara agreed. Deal. I'm curious to see if Theo and I are a better match than you and Oliver. The next day, Mila began to plan the tasks. She wanted them to be simple, but revealing. The first task would be baking bread. She knew this would challenge Theo's impatience. He had never taken the time to bake something slowly, and she knew Lara's quick thinking would be tested when things didn't go as planned. Theo was eager to get started. He walked into Lara's kitchen with a grin on his face. What's first? He asked, ready to jump into action. Lara, who had been preparing the ingredients, looked at him carefully. We need to measure the flour first, she said, pointing to the bowls. Theo, however, didn't listen. He grabbed a handful of flour and threw it into the bowl. That's good enough, he said, his voice filled with excitement. We'll just mix it all up and see what happens. Lara frowned, but didn't say anything. She had always been the one who did things carefully and measured every ingredient. She stepped forward and tried to guide him. Theo, we need to be careful. If we don't measure the ingredients properly, the bread won't rise. But Theo was already off to the next step. He started stirring the dough quickly, not paying attention to the texture. It'll be fine, he said, his hands moving faster and faster. Lara crossed her arms, her patience tested. She didn't want to upset him, but she couldn't help but feel frustrated. Theo, sometimes you need to slow down. Theo paused for a moment, surprised by her words. He looked at her, then at the dough, which was now a lumpy mess. I didn't think it would be this hard. Baking is about taking your time, Lara said, trying to hide her smile. It's not about speed. It's about patience. As they worked through the mess, Lara began to miss Oliver's calm, steady nature. He would have taken his time, measured every ingredient, and worked slowly but carefully. She began to realize that perhaps she had been too hard on him. Maybe his steadiness was exactly what she needed, not someone like Theo, who rushed through everything. By the end of the day, they had finally baked the bread. It wasn't perfect, but it was edible. Both of them learned a valuable lesson. Patience mattered, and rushing didn't always lead to good results. The next task Mila had planned was a bit more challenging. Theo and Lara would work together to build a small bench for an elderly neighbor. Mila knew this task would push Theo's impatience even further. And Lara, though clever, would have to balance her quick thinking with the need for precision and care. Theo was eager again, grabbing the tools and measuring tapes. "Let's get this done quickly," he said. "I want to see if we can finish it today." Lara hesitated. "We need to make sure everything is measured right first," she said. "If we don't get the measurements correct, the bench won't be safe." Theo, however, had already started cutting the wood without checking the measurements again. Lara quickly grabbed his arm. "Theo, wait. You can't just cut it like that. It won't fit." Theo sighed. "I just want to get it done. Why does everything take so long?" Lara stood back for a moment, thinking. She wasn't sure if she could work with Theo like this. He was so eager to rush through everything, while she preferred to take her time. She missed Oliver's calmness. He would have listened carefully, measured everything, and made sure each step was right. But she didn't want to give up. "Let's slow down, Theo. We'll finish it together, but we need to do it right." Theo looked at her, his frustration fading a little. "Okay, let's do it your way." They spent the rest of the day working together. Slowly but surely, they built the bench. By the time the sun began to set, they had finished, though it wasn't perfect. But the task wasn't about perfection. It was about learning to work together and find a balance between speed and patience. As the days went by, Theo and Lara continued with their tasks. Each challenge Mila had planned for them seemed to bring out more of their true personalities. While Theo struggled with patience, Lara began to notice just how much she missed Oliver's steady calm. For the first time, she realized that the qualities she had once seen as boring or too quiet in him were actually the ones she needed most in her life. On the fourth day, Mila set another task for them, helping a neighbor who had fallen ill with some basic chores around the house. The goal wasn't to build something physical this time. It was to see how well Theo and Lara could care for someone else and work together to make life easier for them. Theo was the first to jump in. "Let's get this done quickly," he said, moving towards the neighbor's front door. Lara stopped him, her arms crossed. "Theo, we can't just rush through this. The neighbor needs help, not just a quick fix. We need to do everything carefully." Theo rolled his eyes. "But it's not that hard. We'll be fine." Lara sighed. She could already feel the tension building between them. As they went through the list of chores, cleaning, washing dishes, and running errands, Lara took charge, making sure everything was done right. Theo followed her, his mind clearly elsewhere. He tried to stay focused, but it was clear he wasn't used to working in this slower, more methodical way. After a few hours of cleaning, Theo finally stopped. "Lara," he said, "I think I get it now. You're right. I can't always rush things. But it's hard for me to slow down." Lara softened. "I know, Theo. I know you're used to doing everything quickly, but sometimes it's okay to take your time." Theo looked around at the house they had helped clean. The neighbor was sitting comfortably now, smiling at them. "It feels good, doesn't it?" he asked, his voice quieter than usual. "Helping someone like this? Maybe I've been going too fast." Lara smiled. "It does feel good, and I'm glad you're learning to slow down. There's more to life than speed." As they finished their work for the day, Theo realized that there was value in what he had always considered a waste of time: patience, taking things slowly, and truly listening to others. He thought about Mila and how she had always taught him this, even if he hadn't fully understood it until now. Meanwhile, Lara's mind was still on Oliver. She missed his calm, his steadiness. She couldn't help but think that maybe she had overlooked these qualities in him because she was too focused on things moving quickly. Oliver's quiet strength was beginning to feel like exactly what she needed. It was the last day of their swap, and Mila had one more task in mind. This one was different from the others. She had noticed the small moments when Theo and Lara's personalities were starting to shift. Theo had learned the value of slowing down, and Lara was seeing how much Oliver's patience was worth. The final task was something simple: a picnic. Mila had planned for the three of them, herself, Theo, and Lara, to spend a relaxing afternoon in the town's nearby meadow. It would give everyone a chance to reflect on the week and what they had learned. Theo was the first to arrive, carrying a large basket filled with food. He looked a little out of place in the calm meadow, fidgeting and checking his watch every few minutes. "When will Lara get here?" he asked Mila. Mila smiled. "Let's just relax and enjoy the moment, Theo. Everything doesn't have to be rushed. Soon, Lara arrived, walking slowly and gracefully through the tall grass. She wore a light dress that fluttered in the breeze, and there was a softness to her steps that Theo hadn't noticed before. As she sat down beside them, she smiled, her eyes a little softer than usual. "Nice to see you slowing down a bit," Mila said to Lara with a gentle laugh. Lara nodded. "I think I've learned a lot this week. I've realized that Oliver's calmness isn't something I should take for granted. It's exactly what I need in my life." Theo looked at her with surprise. "So you figured it out? What about me? Did you decide I'm too fast for you?" Lara shook her head. "It's not about being fast or slow, Theo. It's about balance. I can see now that Oliver's patience is something I need. I've been chasing excitement when what I really needed was peace." Theo smiled softly. "I get it. I've spent so much time trying to rush everything. I missed the importance of being patient. Mila's always telling me that. I guess I never really listened until now." Mila's smile deepened as she watched them both. She had seen these changes happen gradually throughout the week. Theo was slowing down, and Lara was learning to appreciate calmness. They were finally seeing the value in what they had, instead of always looking for something else. As they ate together, Theo leaned back on the grass and looked up at the sky. "You know," he said, "this is nice. I don't need to rush anymore. I can just enjoy being here, with you and with Mila." Lara laughed softly. "Maybe I'm starting to see why you love your life so much, Theo. There's beauty in taking things slow." Mila nodded, her eyes sparkling with love. "It's not about being perfect or about rushing through life. It's about appreciating what you have and learning to be patient with each other." For the first time in a long while, Lara felt content. She realized that her relationship with Oliver was exactly what she needed. She didn't need someone like Theo to make her life exciting. She needed someone like Oliver to make her feel steady and grounded. And Theo, too, had learned to appreciate the quiet strength in Mila's calm presence. He knew now that life wasn't just about running toward the next thing. It was about finding peace in the present moment. The week came to a close, and it was time for the couples to return to their homes. Theo and Lara walked back toward their houses, each with their own thoughts. Lara could feel the shift in her heart, and she was ready to go back to Oliver with a new sense of appreciation. When they met again in the town square, there was a quiet understanding between all four of them. Mila and Theo stood side by side, their hands touching gently, while Lara and Oliver exchanged smiles. Lara turned to Oliver, who was waiting quietly nearby. "Oliver," she said softly, "I've learned something this week. I've been blind to how important your calmness is. I've realized that you are exactly what I need. Oliver smiled warmly. I'm glad, Laura. I'm glad you've seen it too. Theo squeezed Mila's hand. I learned a lot too, he said. You were right all along, Mila. Patience makes everything better. Mila smiled, her heart full. It's about loving the person you're with, Theo. Not trying to change them, but appreciating who they are. And so, the two couples returned to their homes, each stronger and more aware of the love they shared. They had learned that love wasn't about changing someone to fit a mold. It was about seeing the beauty in who they already were. And with that understanding, they lived happily, each in their own way, content with the people they had chosen to be with.